kind of mythological level. They're larger than life. They're meant to be. They were shot to be that way.
A personification of his dreams. Now, I don't think he's ever said that. I'm just assuming that. But I think it happens, and it happens once in a lifetime. And she was as close to his ideal female screen image that he could achieve, you know.
The greatest thing between Dietrich and von Sternberg was that he was not her Svengali, as people always say in all the thousands of books. Because for Svengali, you take something that is unmolded and you mold it to your specifications, to your genius, to complement your genius. Von Sternberg didn't do that with Dietrich. She already was what she was. What he did was recognize it and make it flower in his direction.
Josef von Sternberg, who directed the films which made Marlene Dietrich a star in the 1930s, always felt that he was an outsider in Hollywood.
Most of my work was done in opposition of the work that was done by other people. And of course, I have no traceable influence to motion pictures, but my influences, if there are any, are from literature and painting and other arts, which I then incorporate into the film.
One of the things that stands out to me about my father's early life before he was directing, when he was just a teenager, was that he was already an artist. As much as my father was a director, my father was a painter. It was very important to him to express himself visually and to record his visions. As I've been told, he used to only hold down a job for a few days at a time because he would like to go to the library and spend all day there looking at art books and reading and reading philosophy, and he was completely self-educated. And so being self-educated is reflected in the way that his style is so unique.
The future director had grown up in Vienna in a home without books. He was born into an Orthodox Jewish family in 1894. Although he would call himself Joe, or Joseph, his real name was Jonas Sternberg. After arriving in America as a teenager, he began his movie career repairing damaged films, then progressed to editor and assistant director. When a producer decided to give him the impressive name of von Sternberg, he was happy to acquiesce. In 1924, he wrote and directed his first film, which was privately financed, The Salvation Hunters.
Salvation Hunters was fresh and unusual because it did the opposite of what the Hollywood films did. Instead of, and the opposite of what he did later on, instead of creating a glamorous world with lights and decor, he went down to the docks and he made a picture about derelicts and dredgers, the sort of thing that they would never have made films about in Hollywood.
The Salvation Hunters was championed by Charles Chaplin and Douglas Fairbanks, and von Sternberg was taken up by Hollywood. He was given a contract by MGM, joining a roster of distinguished directors, including one of his few heroes, the man standing to the right of him, Erich von Stroheim. But it was at Paramount Studios that von Sternberg made his great silent films. Underworld, The Last Command, The Docks of New York. Then he was given the chance, while shooting Thunderbolt, to make it into a sound film.
He was one of the directors at the very beginning of talkies, you know, who announced that he was very happy, that he wouldn't be at the mercy of you know, organists or pianists in theaters and random sound effects, and that he could now control the sound just as he had controlled the image.
In 1929, von Sternberg was invited to Berlin to make The Blue Angel, the film which established his international reputation. The Blue Angel was the first German sound film, and its lead actor was the Oscar winner, Emil Jannings. The film's success would largely be due to its revelation of a previously obscure actress.
Film 701, Sternberg v. Dietrich, 195, Aufnahme 3. So langsam jetzt.
From this screen test, only recently discovered, it's clear what von Sternberg saw in his future star, and what he would make others see.
In The Blue Angel, I knew the type of an actor that I wanted, but I couldn't find her. And it isn't so much the people that you find, but it's the people that you don't want that make the perfect choice.
You're the cream in my coffee, you're the salt in my stew. You will always be my necessity, I'm lost without you. Ooh, you will always be my necessity, I'm lost without you. Herrgott! Das geht doch so nicht, verstehst das nicht? Hier ist auch ein Genie verloren gegangen. Dir wollte ich wieder den ollen Quatsch singen, nicht? Den kannst du. Jetzt aber falsch spielst, verstehst du? Dann gibt's einen Tritt. Wer wird entweinen, wenn...
There were many actresses in For the Blue Angel, but I was not satisfied. I looked for a type that was painting by Felician Ropes, who lived in another time, another country, but that was the type I wanted.
Young that I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't particularly like the picture.
Oh,
I thought it was well. I didn't think so. I thought it was very vulgar and very low, but I did what the director told me.
She's an extraordinary woman, and she was a great beauty, and it was she was a fine assistant and very easy to respond. She responded beautifully, and gave me an image very often which was not only exactly as I wanted, but very often better than I wanted, and she was quite a gal.
Von Sternberg persuaded Paramount to sign up Marlene Dietrich. She came to Hollywood with her daughter Maria, seen here with von Sternberg, who had now become Dietrich's lover. Maria was witness to their close relationship, both on and off screen.
Dietrich was brought to America to be a rival to Garbo. And the American public had not seen The Blue Angel. Her first film that Dietrich was presented to the public at large was Morocco, where we already had the veils and the half-closed eyelids, and the shadows, and the fog on the ship, that first introduction of that incredible von Sternberg face. And I often thought that it was a great shame, because Dietrich had great talent in The Blue Angel, which never really came out again, because it was this face that took over.
There you are. I hope I haven't forgotten anything.
Merci, monsieur. You're very kind.
Your first voyage to Morocco?
Yes?
I make the trip quite often. Perhaps I can be of some service. I'd be happy to help you.
I won't need any help.
Morocco established the hallmarks of the collaboration between von Sternberg and Dietrich. An exotic setting, a plot about erotic obsession, and above all, Dietrich herself as the supreme femme fatale.
The battle of the sexes is what all of his films are in one way or another about, and the women always win, really. Even when they lose, they win. I think von Sternberg had a real kind of understanding of women. And the women have a lot of complexity in his films, more than the men. But then women tend to have more complexity in life than men. They have a lot of more colors. They shimmer. They look different every time you look at them. And so Joe understood that.
He had the idea of putting her in trousers on her first appearance on a stage in an American film. This was the most shocking. The head office did not permit it. The head office said, no, this has to be cut. It was already cut out of the film, and then he started to fight and put it back. As a matter of fact, he put it back surreptitiously for a preview.
Lorsque tout est fini, quand demeure votre bon rêve, pourquoi pleurer les jours s'enfuient, regretter les anges partis, les baisers sont flétris, le roman vite s'achève.
People who say to me he was an egomaniac director, I always point to those moments that Dietrich invented and did on the drop of a hat without a preconceived rehearsal. An egomaniac director does not keep inventive business of his main actress, no matter how good it may be, if he's an egomaniac director, because he knows the frame that he's shooting and he knows what he wants. And if the actor suddenly goes like this to a top hat, he ain't going to keep it in if he's egomaniac. But Joe did.
May I have this? Of course.
The kiss to the girl was done because my mother said, I'm dressed as a man. I should behave as a man. And of course,